CMMS Radio talks about all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, focused on maintenance management. It's the people, the process, and the culture that make your CMMS journey a success. Welcome back, everybody. You might recognize this guy on screen. It's Alex Bolan. He is with Digital Thinker Incorporated. And for anybody that doesn't know, I just got to finally meet Alex in person down in Greenville, South Carolina. This was back in February, and it was for the Streamline Asset Management User Conference. And there's some news coming, so keep an eye on things. There's something coming on May 6th. Alex is going to run a live session, talk to us about some stuff. Another quick thing, we are going to join one another on the stage at Reliable Plant, the Reliable Plant Conference 2025, June 2nd through June 5th. If anybody still needs to attend, go to conferences.reliableplant.com, conference.reliableplant.com. Use code CMMS5. Get yourself a discount. Get to that event. We're going to have an awesome panel discussion. And,
dude, yeah,
this is going to be great because we don't have to script it. We can come in kind of hot. We're not looking to cause trouble. We're looking to inspire thought.
Yeah.
We're going to crush some buzzwords, and we are going to get real about how people can better leverage and approach their CMMS. That's going to be a lot of fun. So I appreciate you agreeing to join me for that.
Dude, thanks for having me. Yeah.
Oh,
that's
for sure, man. For sure. So what we're doing today, it's a little bit different than what I usually do on my episodes because I've got kind of some notes. It's basically a quick hit episode, and I'm doing this for Engineering Maintenance Solutions because they want to get some more stuff from CMMS Radio. They showcase the podcast. They get a lot of good feedback on it. So I wanted to knock out like a long series of topics. We're just going to bam, 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 blast through them. And then we'll go deeper on future episodes. So we'll basically just jump right in. Are you ready to rock and roll, Alex?
It's as ready as I'll ever be, man.
All right. And that is what this is really all about. So first thing on CMMS, what would you give to us on how to successfully implement a CMMS?
I think where success comes down the line is you can't shove a product down somebody's throat. Like you can't just pick your favorite product, even if you're the champion of it, and just say, we're doing this. I think where success is going to come into play is, and this is shocker, it takes work. You have to get people on board to the mission vision of what you're trying to accomplish. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. Otherwise, you're going to spend money on a shiny object that's going to sit on the shelf, so to speak, and it's just not going to work. So I think, the place to start is not user adoption, but you just buy in from top to bottom. It's a two-way street. You can't just go straight up. You got to go down. You can't just go straight down. You got to go up too. And then there's one thing that our friend George Williams talks about a lot is how to be successful in that is having good business acumen in the sense of how you communicate this to the right people in the ways that they will understand. So it takes a little bit of self-inwardness, so to speak, to learn how you can mold the conversation so it can be heard in the best manner possible. That's my input on that.
Yeah. And obviously we could go way deeper into the topic. We just want to kind of gloss over the surface a little bit, get people thinking about it. But that's really, George Williams over at Reliability X will always tell you it all starts with the business case and being able to get everybody rallying around and moving in the same direction, not because you're barking orders, but because you're actually putting in the time and the effort and talking to your teams so that everybody's aligned. And everybody says that shit, but like you said, it takes work. So now when it comes to implementation, and I want to talk about mistakes. So can you share with me some of the common CMMS implementation mistakes you've seen and encountered and how to avoid them, how someone could potentially avoid them?
Yeah. So I'm just going to reference a most recent to us challenge that we're experiencing. So this isn't a one size fits all type of response, but we're currently working on a project in a validated industry such as pharmaceuticals or med device or food and bev. And when you have that, right, like you have to have a validated product that meets FDA standards and compliances and things that go along those lines, right? So that's validation is a must have. Let me be clear. It's a must have. But a common challenge or a common mistake that can be had is having validation being involved of the implementation from day one. You need to remember that validation's job is to validate the system. It's not validation's job to validate every step of the process of the implementation, because then you're going to have too many cooks in the kitchen, and you're going to have repetitive steps being made and being done, and it's just going to get muddied up really, really fast. So best way to avoid them, and that problem in particular, is you just need to have a good project plan, which is a lot easier said than done. I understand that. But the most critical component is if you're the project manager, if you're the product champion, or let's just give the example of you don't have a product champion, but you're trying to spearhead this project, and you don't have a project manager, but you're trying to spearhead this project, is find the right people that can help you do this. Be aware of where your strengths and weaknesses lie and get the right people involved. But again, if you do have those people in play, give ownership to the champion on how the project needs to go out and play and how it's going to work out for the end users. And then for your project manager, make sure that they're holding everybody accountable to what the project plan is going to be. Because, where I think things really fall, and I've seen this a lot, and this is applicable to anybody, and I've done it myself, you've probably done it yourself on, a different subject, is, ooh, I like that, I'm going to buy it, we're going to start using it tomorrow. And you just jump into it head first, right? You don't have any plan. You just say, screw it, guys, we're going to do it. That's I'm a leap first without looking type individual. So my team has to hold me back a lot, which is good. I want that. But you cannot do that with a CMMS implementation. You can't do that with any critical business application. You have to be incredibly intentional with how you use it and how you're going to execute it. And so, again, I think if you have a rock solid project plan and a rock solid individual, even if that is you, that can help keep that plan in line and the people accountable, you're going to find success, and you're going to be able to mitigate the pitfalls that come with it. That is data siloing, conversation siloing, project stalls, insert all of the other potential risk factors, going over budget, right, that go with it.
Yeah. And I like that you said it's not really what you're talking about here, a one size fits all, but there's ways we can kind of adapt it and learn from it and get us all thinking. And when I say us, it's like anybody out there that's on this journey. You might have a system that you think is not working well. Check it out first, really do the work. And the other thing I would throw on top of what you had said was, when you put these things in place and you have these milestones and you have a product champion and a project manager, don't sleep on going back to that accountability and actually putting things in that hold people to that. Don't let things slide. It's not to get people in trouble. It's so that we can all get somewhere. So next, I want to ask you.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I add one last thing to that? Yeah, this is. Yeah. I'm really passionate about this too. I'm sorry. So let's go ahead and own this. All right. Let's just say, oh man, you're gonna love this, Greg. Let's state the obvious right here, and let's just all accept it. Mistakes are going to happen. Somebody is going to make a mistake. Something is going to happen, right? You can try to mitigate all of the risks in the world, and even if you do, something is still going to go wrong. When something goes wrong, you want to have accountability. Yes, we want to determine what happened, why it happened, the decision-making process that got us here. But the important thing to understand, and this comes obviously from a leadership perspective, but from anybody that's even not in a leadership perspective, when mistakes happen, especially in the middle of an implementation, it is not the time to point fingers, blame, hold people onto this cross of what should have been done. What needs to happen is, all right, how do we fix this? Let's fix it. Let's turn this into a learning opportunity. And then when we complete this project, let's reflect on what we can do to prevent this from happening again. I think Warren Buffett has a really great quote that he said, if you make a decision that costs the company money, we can learn and move on from that. But if you make a decision that costs the company its reputation, harder conversations are going to have to be had from that result, right? So think in a mindset of, you can't prevent every mistake from happening. They're going to happen. Accept it, own it, no matter what. But just do know that when it does happen, it's not the end of the world. We can learn and we can build people up from those mistakes. So not only they can be better, but they can continue to teach on. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
I love that. I love that you added that on there and the way you put it at the end, because the more you do that, the better you get at it and you start moving really, really well. And then other people are observing that and they're like, wow, how are they not getting stuck and arguing and fighting and playing the blame game? And if somebody asked me, I'd say, well, number one, I take my hat off to them. Number two, they work at that. They work at that. And they do it because there's nothing but upside to that. We all can get stuck. So that blame game is bullshit. Doesn't do anything for anybody. When it's all done, when it's all said and done and you deliver the project and keep on going, you can, one of my good buddies, like Brian Biesky would say, you can go find a fan room later. So next one, in the world of CMMS, training is a thing, right? And people do it, people don't do it. So do you have any kind of, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but like approaches or things you would want to share with somebody about training your team on a new CMMS, whether you're a first-time CMMS user or you're switching to a new platform? What kind of insights would you share? Like, hey, be aware of this, think about it in this way, anything like that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to approach this from the mindset perspective of this, right? Like, I think most people out there can develop a good training program for the most part. Maybe there's a little bit of fluff here and there, but I think, in my opinion, when you're training somebody on a CMMS, again, like you just said, new to CMMS altogether, never used anything before, or they're switching platforms, change causes resistance. So how do you get in front of the resistance? You want to set proper expectations. So we talked about this on first question, how to successfully implement, get buy-in on a two-way street. Okay. So when it comes time to train, it's not just, hey guys, report to conference room B, 12 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. We're going to spend the next 4.5 days training on XYZ software. Hope you're excited and ready. It's going to be long days, long hours, but going to be good stuff. And nobody wants to get excited about that. You need to approach it in a way that speaks to everybody. So, for example, maybe you want to break up your training by role: technician to planner, storeroom clerk and inventory specialist, system admin, right? Like maybe that's an avenue you want to go down. But when you go down that avenue, you need to be able to set the expectation of why we're doing this. Why is it important that we're doing this? And then after the why is it important we're doing this, this is how it's going to make you better at your job. But it's also not going to just make you better at your job. It's going to make you more confident in how you carry out your job. It's going to make you, it's going to make life easier. It's going to make home life easier, because now you don't have to worry about how you're going to curate a inventory report at work, because you know how to do it and you have the tools to do it. So it's less about we're changing to change because we found a product and we're going to force everybody to change it. It's more about, we need to set the expectations to these people in the classroom that we're changing a product because we think we found a better way to do it. And not only do we want that for our company, but I want that for you as an individual, because I want you to be set up for success on the day that you walk in. And as a leader, if I don't do that, I'm not doing my job. My job as a leader, and not everybody's a leader, but everybody leads even though they're not doing it. But my job is to make sure you have the tools to do what you need to do flawlessly. And then if you don't have those tools, then I either need to go find them or I need to teach you how to use them. And teaching you how to use them isn't about what my agenda is. It's about the big mission. How are we going to accomplish it? What your role in that mission is, and how easier it's going to be for you to get your job done so everybody else can get their job done.
Nice. Let's move to data migration.
Ugh,
and this is
ugly.
One where you've spent some time. So, whether it's advice or, like, hey, watch out for this. when it comes to CMMS implementation and this data migration process that tends to happen. What do you got for us on that?
This is going to be a pretty bold statement. If you have less, or no, not less than, if you have, I guess, more than, no, less than's right. Sorry. If you have less than 50% confidence that your data is somewhat accurate or usable, it's all trash. Start fresh. Just start over. I'm not saying delete it and get rid of it. For our product specifically, there's a place we can put it in EAM to where you can still search it and use it, and it's not just all hope is lost kind of data. But if you have spent, let's say you're a new maintenance manager and you're trying to put in a new CMMS, right? And we're there. Now we're on the data part. But for the last 10 years that it has been very shoddy accountability on data input, that not every work order has accurate information on it. We don't need to try to shovel through a pile of shit to find the one gem, right? We still need to do something with it. I'm not saying we got to ignore it and sweep it under the rug or just completely throw everything out of the garbage, right? But where you will spend too much time, effort, money, energy, and heartache is trying to sift through all of that data with a fine-tooth comb just to find out that you've got maybe 5 to 10% of usable data that you can bring forward with you. And if in your world, you're moving to a new software where data migration is happening, right? That means your current software doesn't fit the bill anymore. So we need something, whether that's better, bigger, whatever your reasons are. But the other component to this is work still has to get done. Products still have to get made. Throughput still has to be accomplished, and production yields still have to be met. You don't have time, and again, money, to sit and sift through all these data when you have the bigger mission at hand of we need to get something up and running that's good, reliable, and easier to use, and we're just going to start collecting new data. Also, things change. Things change constantly. There is no sense in holding on to data that is 10, 15, I'm going to say 7, 10, 15 years old when the current problem you're facing today is in front of you. So don't feel like you have to bring everything over. Relish in the freedom that you can let go. You can just let go.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about that is there's a tendency, like we want to hurry up and we want to get launched, but there's this tendency to let things kind of exist because of other bad habits within organizations. And this isn't to blame anybody. It just happens. Busyness, busy, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And you'll see data accumulate that is useless in that, I'm not saying throw it away, but to bring it into your new system might be unnecessary, like old assets that you no longer have. And you've got PMs and all that kind of stuff. And this is why we're just starting at the surface on these topics. Someone coming in here, this is to get you thinking and wondering, how could I do this better? What should I watch out for? So speaking of those preventive maintenance items, do you have any general kind of insight you would share with someone when it comes to preventive maintenance planning, how they would approach that, what they should be thinking of when they're doing it?
Yeah. So, I think what we're starting to see, maybe I call it a new trend. Maybe it's not all that new, right? I'm learning that everything in life is a little cyclical here, but, when you're planning your maintenance, right, like you have your core elements that you need to plan, which is like your most critical pieces that need to happen today. Like if I don't change this air filter, this asset's going to fail on this day and we have to do that. But, maybe take it a little bit of a step further if you can and recognize and get to know who is on your team and who's really good at whether that's executing certain work versus other work. Maybe you have somebody that's just really good at re-greasing bearings, right? Like for whatever reason, they're just a whiz at it. Well, why don't we try to tailor their workload and planning to what their skill sets and specialties are? It's not that you have to, sit down and have lunch with this person every week to understand that, right? You just need to take 2% of a little extra effort to understand what your team is capable of and who who shines in what areas and maybe who needs learning and who doesn't, and just where the strengths and weaknesses lie, and then apply that to what your preventative maintenance scheduling is going to look like. Because again, right at the end of the day, we're trying to achieve efficiency. And if we can achieve efficiency by putting the right people at the right job, great. But we're not going like a a preventative maintenance plan isn't going to be all that great and efficient and effective if we're putting the wrong people on the wrong task, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They got to have the knowledge and the insights and having been there. And then if that changes, you have to alter that plan and figure out another strategy. So that's a good basic start for everybody. What about these asset hierarchies?
Mm.
So optimizing asset hierarchies to me has always been around, in the world of reliability, we want to understand criticality. And then based on criticality, we want to then go different levels. Solutions out there, they're all over the board, right? Some can go deep, deeper, deepest, and even further than that when it comes to these hierarchies. But do you have anything on whether we call it advice or not? I don't know if we should use the word advice, but what do you think is important when it comes to CMMS implementation as it relates to asset hierarchies? Are they important? Why so?
Yeah, I mean, they are important. And so the reason why they're important is it doesn't matter what type of plant you're running or manufacturing, instance that you're running. You have critical assets, right? If this asset fails, the whole kit and caboodle stopped. But it's not also the blanket statement of that your critical assets stay the same year over year. Production demands ebb and flow, right? Like they're going to go up. So your critical asset number may increase, or it may ebb and your critical asset number is going to decrease. And that's going to dramatically affect your maintenance plan and your reliability plan, because if production's low, you can run your machines maybe a little bit longer and you don't have to do as much maintenance, saving time, effort, and money. But then on the inverse, right? Like if it's high, you're fighting fires. So I think it is important. And the reason it's important is because you need to understand, and you need to do, I would call it either a yearly health check or maybe even a semi-annual health check of like, okay, what are actually my critical assets? Because and this is no joke. We recently did a implementation as somebody went from a legacy software to our product, and they still had decommissioned assets in their software listed as critical assets that were still automating, or not automating, but auto rolling out PM plans around it.
Yeah.
And it's like, somebody needs to go in there and look at it, and we need to try to get rid of that, right? So you just need to look inwardly a little bit and make sure that how you're classifying or making that hierarchy is just accurate. And then I think the next component to understand too is you probably need to have a good understanding of the parent-child relationship on that asset. And the things that are going to happen is, if the child of a particular asset fails, is that going to render that entire asset useless, or can you let it stay at a failed state or a half running state and the asset can continue to function appropriately, right? So understanding parent-child relationships, how it affects that asset in particular, and then again, how is that going to affect production quality or anything else that goes along with it? That's getting kind of deep into reliability.
Yeah. And sometimes I want to be careful with that, but other times I want to lean on people that really understand it. And again, this one is to get people thinking, build awareness around it. This isn't about selling products or anything like that. This is about how are we thinking about maintenance management, maintenance and reliability, and of course CMMS. But my favorite thing about CMMS is not so much the software, it's the maintenance management in the middle, the people, the process, and dialogues like this help. So there are many ways to bake a cake. Some taste good, some don't. I don't know.
That's right.
But we're going to finish this episode off with a final kind of a question or topic. And we'll call that the frosting on the cake, because some people would consider this really sweet kind of a trend these days. Other people would say, ooh, bad, that's too sweet. Does that make sense? So I'm talking about AI. How is AI, sometimes called artificial intelligence, transforming CMMS platforms?
Yeah. So I think it has a lot of potential to be cool. I think we're still quite a ways away from AI. I don't want to say replacing the maintenance technician. Wrenches still have to be turned, and maybe a robot can do that in 20 years. But wrenches still have to be turned. Inventory items can only be so automated. So AI is not going to replace how and the why and the job function of this. What I think it is going to transform is just efficiency level, right? Like how we're getting things done. I think what we're seeing right now, right, is a lot of products are coming out with some cool features where it's making it easier and quicker to either find work orders, input the data, associate trends and history to that work order, things like that, which I think can be helpful. But again, it kind of goes back to you got to have good data to do so. And then here's the other thing that honestly, I don't think really, I don't want to say anybody, not a lot of people are talking about this. Let's step back to a little bit on the understanding of like, how does AI work, right? Like it cross-references as many data points as it possibly can to provide you with a response, statement, or suggestion. Like if we're talking about a large language model, an LLM, if you're talking about a neural network, it's still looking at data points and maybe running simulations. But at the same time, it requires a massive amount of data in order to get good insights out of it. We're not there yet. We're just not there yet. So I think it is going to be cool and it's going to be good in the years to come. And it's only going to happen faster. What I don't want people to start getting expectations on is that, oh, this is really cool. And now I can use it as a crutch. I can use it as the authority answer because it can spit out an answer and it can cross-reference data. Well, it can cross-reference that data super fast. But you can also cross-reference data too, right? And if you're only, if you're trying to build a use case on whether it's switching CMMS or, hey, let's talk about this, a use case on trying to replace a piece of equipment and you need capital expenditure for it, right? What are the things that management are going to ask for? Okay, I want to know how much it costs. What's the work that's been done on the old one? Why does the old one need to be replaced? And support it and prove it. If you're trying to compile that information together, you're not going to bring that to your CFO, plant manager, executive with only 2 reference data points, right? And your reference data points are, well, we hate working on it and it breaks all the time. And they're going to say, not my problem, get out of my office, go figure it out, right? That's kind of what AI is doing, right? Like in a more simplified term, like there's just, well, I'm not going to simplify it any further. I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. Like I don't think there's enough data that we can rely on it for it to be our end all be all. I think there's some capabilities that can make our lives better and cool and all that. But I think anybody that is walking into an expectation, whether you're buying a new product or not, that it has to have AI baked into it, you're setting yourself up for failure, because the second you have that expectation and then you go to deploy it, you're going to quickly learn it's not capturing the right data points. And all of a sudden, the metrics aren't lining up, the work isn't making sense, and the whole train is going to come off the wagon. There still has to be that element of you managing it, of oversight into it, and making sure that the data is there. You can maybe trust it, but you still need to verify it. And that's my opinion on AI.
I think it's good. I think it's good because we don't want people to think it's a set it and forget it thing. And everybody's saying, well, everybody's saying that. And it's like, yeah, but who's actually doing it? And I think we should be cautiously optimistic about what it can do with the right contextual, meaningful, accurate data. And we're not saying, hey, don't do AI. We're saying there's going to be ways that it's really going to help and it's going to get better and better and better, but we got to keep an eye on it. We can't let it run amok, and it's got to be based on something that's actually real and foundational. So with that, Alex Bolan, digital thinker, and
thanks, brother.
Streamline Conferences. Thank you for joining me on CMMS Radio.
Happy to be here, Greg. Thanks for the invite.
You got it. Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit cmmsradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.